We are going straight to the front line. You will understand how close the front line is to city center. The hotel is relatively city center.
Yeah. But it's a big city, yeah?
Yeah, more than 1 million inhabitants.
And also a lot of distance, so...
10 минут и мы на линии фронта.
10 minutes driving and we are on the front line. Civil car. Someone didn't survive this road. And after the beginning of SMO, when we destroyed a lot of it, they're using predominantly NATO now. All NATO artillery, machinery, everything. Visiting of cemetery is prohibited, caution mines. And now, everywhere in Donetsk, but especially in zones like this, you can easily step on a mine.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. You can see it's one of the first places where the peaceful life came back, and you see that people are trying to do something, I mean, in the yard. And you see that this building is also being reconstructed.
Yeah.
Gets its second life. It was hit strongly.
Yeah. Well, it's rubble at the end there, but the building
But part
stayed
of it,
up.
yeah, part of it is still functioning, and people live here, and we can even go and see children's paintings.
Well, this is empty children's playground, which illustrates what you're saying.
Something you wouldn't expect.
Actually, it's very creepy because there's all this signs that there should be children here, but there's not.
Yeah.
Where are the children in this playground? We don't know.
Well, hopefully they are in safe places and in evacuation on our territory. But some of them probably end up in the claws of, all those networks controlling Ukraine now. Because all these, organizations, it's not about Ukrainian elites, it's about global elites.
Yeah.
And Ukraine is just part of Russia that is under control of globalists.
Yeah. But this is where they took some children. These White Angels stole some children from here.
Yes. From these places, from this area, they stole some children and sent them to...
One couple here, they managed to hide their daughter.
Yes, they even built a fake wall in their flat, because multiple times the so-called White Angels or Ukrainian military before leaving the city came and said, "We know you have children here, and we're gonna take it from you for evacuation." But usually such children end up in pedophile networks or in organ donors or something like that. I mean, really terrible. A lot of stories like that parents gave their children to White Angels and never saw them after. Information about them. They are portrayed in the West like, humanitarian organization, brave and brilliant people, like White Helmets.
Same.
It's the same technology, the same stuff. And
but the White Helmets were more famous for doing their rescues, their fake sort of staged rescues. They were heroes.
Yeah, and then it turned out that they killed people.
Yeah.
To stage it.
Well, they were actually the Al-Qaeda people, just wearing a different costume.
Yeah, and the White Helmets, the White Angels here, they do this with children. To the northwest from the city, the airport is not far at all, and it's a legendary place because between 2014 and 2022, it was technically on the front line. Here you can see a hit by a mine. A mortar. And throughout all of this period, the monks, the nuns, never left this place. They were here, they were praying, and we will get closer and see the amount of destruction. But no matter what, no matter how difficult it was, people were staying here, praying, and believing that the victory is coming and the better times are coming. And you can see the amount of destruction. It's a cemetery. You can see that a lot of memorials are also harmed by the shelling. And now it's safer, but still we're technically in a dangerous zone. So it's not a place where you come for a barbecue.
The monks are back here now.
They
still
never
here.
left.
They
it.
never left. Yeah.
They never left it, no matter how difficult it was. We will see if the church is open now. It's a very symbolic place. A lot of people take photos here because it's the symbol of resistance and durability of spirit. It's the symbol of how spiritual objects survive and how the spirit survives even in toughest places.
Yeah.
And it reflects the spiritual side of this war. That's a drone detector. A DJI drone is not far from here. Father Sviatoslav has a drone detector that's even connected to his smartwatch, and when there is a drone not far, like a kilometer around you, it indicates it, so you can have time just to hide. We hope that it's our reconnaissance drone and not enemies, so let's pray for it. Look.
This is small arms. This is small arms fire.
Yeah, that's mortar.
Mortar, is it?
Would you like something like to eat in Avdiivka? A pizza? Давайте я оплачу. Да. Maybe yogurt. Do you drink yogurt? It's peach, and that's blueberry. What do you choose?
Okay, peach.
Peach.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To Avdiivka. Елена and Alexandra just came today from Селидово.
Селидово пришли ребята военные сегодня, узнавали за других наших соседей, которые раньше записывались на эвакуацию. Мы объяснили, что их уже вывезли.
Today, Russian military came and asked about our neighbors who already signed for evacuation, but they were already evacuated.
Да, я спросила, что я хочу записаться на эвакуацию.
And I told that I also want to be evacuated.
А ребята сказали, что 15 минут на сборы, мы вас сегодня заберем.
And guys said, we have 15 minutes, we can take you today.
И правда, через 15 минут приехала машина, нас привезли, в Селидово тоже, только на другой пункт. Там собирали людей на
And in
выход.
15 minutes, the military car came and they brought us to another checkpoint, also in Selido, but another place of the city where all the refugees were accumulated.
Ну вот нас там собрали, пришла другая машина, и нас посадили в машину и отправили сюда. Вот.
And then they brought us here to Avdiivka. Как вам здесь, как вас встретили?
Встретили нас очень хорошо.
We were welcomed really
Честно,
well here.
во-первых, нам сразу все, во-первых, тут тепло.
It's warm here.
Дома очень холодно.
In our house it's very cold now.
Нас сразу накормили.
They give us food immediately.
Все условия, чай, кофе, кто
Tea,
что
coffee,
хочет,
whatever you want,
печенье,
cookies.
постель предоставили.
They give you bed.
Медицина есть. Я
Medical
уже сходила,
assistant.
я женщина, у меня гипертония и
I have hypertension
сердечница,
and heart
и
problems
сахар повышенный.
and
Мне
high
уже и сахар
sugar in blood.
померили, и
I
давление
got all the
померили.
assistance with the pressure, with sugar in my blood, everything.
Я не могу ничего плохого сказать, понимаете?
I cannot say
Все
anything
очень
bad.
хорошо.
Everything is very good here.
Что бы ни спросил, все
Whatever you ask, you get
все
it right
помогают,
now, right
ребята.
away.
What happened to our home?
Что с вашим домом случилось?
Дом пока, наполовину целый. У нас
The house
четырехэтажка.
is half saved, half not. It
Четырехэтажка.
has 4 stories.
У меня нет спальни окна,
I don't have window in my
Кухни, окна
bedroom,
нет.
in my kitchen.
а пока остальное пока целое.
All the rest is saved. Был удар в дом.
Под дом был в третьем подъезде. У меня сын пострадал, его зацепило осколком по спине.
Your son was injured by shelling, by a shard in his back. The house was hit by ракеты или чем ударили?
А
Артиллерии?
я чем знаю?
By something.
Я не понимаю, ну что-то стало совсем, знаете, вот дым такой черный, мы все черные стали, я оглохла.
It was, black
меня-
fog, like
у меня
black
сын
smoke.
очень-
I became deaf for a couple of minutes.
Сын очень плохо и так слышал, а после
My
этого
son was
удара
almost deaf even before, but after this
стал еще хуже
he's even
слышать.
worse.
Вот, а так, ну, живы, слава Богу.
But we're alive and thank God for that. Спасибо большое, Лен.
И вам
Спасибо.
тоже
Храни
спасибо.
Господь вас.
20 человек.
We have about 20 people here.
Тех, кого сегодня привезли и кого сегодня вывести не успеют, так как в другом пункте есть виноватая очередь.
Those who were brought today, and we won't be on time to bring someone else because the point in Ясиновата is overwhelmed.
Тут давайте пойдем на кухню,
Let's
расскажу,
go
как,
to the kitchen.
как устроен быт.
How the things are going here.
Здесь у нас кухня,
Here is a kitchen.
люди кушают, у нас
People
тут сухое
can have
питание,
food, dried food,
чай,
tea,
кофе,
coffee,
печеньки,
cookies,
кашки.
porridges.
И сегодня у нас такой день,
And
что
today we have
местные волонтеры из Макеевки привезли
that local volunteers from Makivka brought борщ.
борщ. Первое. Уже почти
So
закончился.
almost out of it.
Вот. Тут у нас плов.
Плов.
Волонтеры привезли
rice with
из
meat.
Смоленска, из Владимира.
guys from Smolensk and
Церковные
Vladimir.
волонтеры со всей России
Yeah.
приезжают. Тут у нас вот
This is a temporary place everyone's coming to.
чай,
That's the first
First stage.
кипяток,
tea, water, boiled water,
хлеб.
bread.
Все условия, все удобства.
Everything that you need.
Мивина, как многие ее называют. они-
Доширак.
Доширак, да. Многие от увиденного прям, ну,
Instant
у
noodles.
них слов просто нет, как они благодарны
People
это всё
don't have
видеть.
words because many of them under Ukrainian occupation didn't see that amount of food.
Didn't see what?
Didn't see that amount of food
Oh,
under Ukrainian occupation.
oh really?
Yeah, they're
Люди счастливы.
they're happy.
Вот, бабушки приезжают, они размещаются,
We make
их заполняют
predominantly
анкеты.
grannies, old women here, fill in
Ходят,
all
пьют чай.
everything, the documents,
И
have
очень
tea,
часто получается так, что люди приезжают с животными.
and frequently they come with animals.
Да. Животные много, абсолютно разные.
Many animals, different ones.
Женщины самодельные переноски.
They have the transportation boxes with the dog.
Сейчас давайте покажу, как у нас тут дальше идет. Тут самодельные лотки.
That's cat litter.
Вот, для кошек у нас лотки самодельные. И что самое частое происходит, получается так, что животные приезжают без поводков, без ничего, и мы уже все магазины опустошены, и уже придумываем из того, что есть, какие-то поводки делать. Вот, например, давайте приведу пример вам. Так, как мы
And we
делаем.
make laces for animals to keep them so that they do not flee. People are really grateful, besides. They even cry,
так.
they're so touched that they receive their friends and relatives and like they get their assistance even in such conditions.
But sometimes their families are split up. Some are in Russia, some are in
Но
Ukraine.
да, иногда у них семьи, получается, разделены, у кого-то там под украинским, да, контролем, у кого-то у нас.
Часто
Yeah,
такое
frequently.
происходит, что хотят позвонить туда, но туда позвонить никак.
They want to call, but they cannot call
Так.
on Ukrainian side.
Также просят позвонить, у кого-то есть родственники, у кого-то, в принципе, родственники 10 лет уже живут в Донецке, в населенных селах, а они уже 10 лет не общались. Они когда...
Some of them have relatives in Donetsk and they couldn't communicate for 10 years because they were under Ukraine.
And if they seek refuge with the Russian side, they could face reprisals from the Kiev side.
А если узнают, что они беженцы на территории России, у них могут быть проблемы там на Украине.
Ну, в том числе, да.
Yes.
Поэтому многие даже не хотят сами звонить,
That's
чтобы
why
не
a lot
подставлять
of
лишний
people
раз.
don't even call their relatives under Ukraine so that they don't have problems.
They would create problems for their relatives
Yes,
back home.
yes.
Difficult.
Также, когда родственники оказываются вот у них в Донецке, они все жили в Донецке, а эти были в те же Селидово там и так далее, то и когда звонят, прям, когда ты сидишь, даешь им позвонить и слушаешь, это прям непередаваемое ощущение, насколько они счастливы.
When you hear people from Selidova talking to their relatives in Donetsk, they haven't heard for 10 years, it's something special. It's very emotional.
When they come here, they call them for the first time.
Yes.
Ah,
After 10 years.
wow.
Well, Tim, as I promised you, we are on the Ugleda direction. The liberated city is there. We are in Nikolskaya, that is technically outskirts of Ugleda. The white church we see was the place where the positions of Ukrainians started. And we are at Nikolai Vasilievsky monastery that was shelled and was on the front line since the beginning of the SMO and suffered a lot from shelling. And it was one of the main symbols of resistance and spiritual force of Russian Orthodoxy here. You are on the most possible, most difficult front line.
Yeah.
And being here a year and a half later, you know, is something. I recorded a place where I would love to be one day,
Right.
and it was dangerous.
Yeah.
And now we're here with you.
Yeah.
We've moved forward. We've taken Ugleda, and
Yeah.
thank God, things are going.
Not just Ugleda, there are a few places around it, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, at war, symbolism means a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the liberation of Ugleda is something special, not only in terms of
Yeah.
strategic and tactical
Yeah.
use, but in symbolism.
No, these icons are amazing. There's one amazing feature in the war when Israel invaded Lebanon, 2006, and Hassan Nasrallah went on television, and he was building the morale of his troops and so on. He said, and even the Israeli warship out there, and as he pointed out there, a rocket went and hit the ship, you know, on live television, and people thought this is astonishing, you know.
Yeah.
How does he have this power?
Tim, look,
Oh.
this is the part, the explosive part of the mine called the bell. It's from cluster bombs, yes.
Cluster bomb.
Cluster bomb. It's a part of the cluster bombs, and inside it has shrapnel, and it never exploded. So it's an indication that this place was hit by cluster bombs that are banned. And also, this church was built in 1912, and it was the beginning of the monastery. And Zosima, you can read a lot about him. There are prophecies signed, fixed in the beginning of 2000s, depicting and describing exactly what is happening now. And he even said, before his death, bury me lower so that banderas do not reach me. Saying that, and people told me that there were also a lot of crosses on the territory. And, for example, this. And Ukrainians, they tried to hit the cross. So they were operating with a drone. They were looking where they're hitting, and they hit before, after, in the middle. So they were aiming precisely to hit a cross like this. So our friend, a local serviceman, told that the first time he came, he was coming to this place this way. He came, he saw this cross commemorating the visit of Patriarch Kirill in 2009. It is intact, it is safe. And then he looked around and saw that everything is destroyed, but the crosses are saved. And once again, even if the cupola is destroyed, the cross is intact. Well, and it's a direct indication, I think, for all of us. So, this is part of the graveyard that appeared after the beginning of SMO these are the monks and people who lived here, the acolytes, so to say, that were killed by Ukrainian shellings. And monks told us that when they were digging the graveyards, they had to hide in the graves, in the holes, from shelling, from shards, because once the Ukrainian side saw that someone is in the yard of the monastery and doing something, digging the grave, they started shelling it. So people, to bury their friends, their loved ones, had to suffer from shellings every time. It was the hit, and we see the shrapnel, and the another didn't explode. And they say that mortars never hit the same place, but this one did. So it's $1 million photo.
2 mortars, huh?
One mortar exploded, and the other hit the same hole and didn't explode. Well, Tim, we made it to a very special place. It's Uspensky Cathedral in Nikolo-Vasylsky Monastery, outskirts of Ugleda. We hear the front line. It's not that far, but at least now we can record a short video and our conversation. What do you feel as a person from other part of the world, other side of the world, looking, seeing and hearing what you see and hear?
Well, it's bringing this monastery, this cathedral, is bringing together some of the themes you've mentioned, that it's really a battle of values, this war, not just for the protection of the Russian people here, but also a battle of the values that those peoples represent, with the forces, the proxy forces of NATO on the other side, and the Russian Donbass people on this side. And of course what the monks are stressing, which is what has been said before, is that, and you mentioned in relation to the schism in the Orthodox churches, that the church represents all of the people of Ukraine and Russia and Belarus, and it pains them to see this division, this schism. And I think some people might say this is a side effect of the conflict, but I think you've made the point that no, it actually represents something very fundamental to the conflict, that the idea of creating a schism on the Kiev side, to say we have a separate church there to emphasize the divisions between the people, is something that's really a dagger in the heart of this church and the values that it represents.
You're absolutely right. I will be interpreting.
Okay.
Давайте, а я буду переводить нашему гостю. The first thing he paid attention to when he came, everything is demolished, but the icons are safe. I mean, everything is totally destroyed.
Не напоминает ли тебе ничего?
Абсолютно. Попад. Да.
Опасная родная.
Understand how you can stay unbeliever and atheist after seeing something like that? Because it's a MLRS rocket that didn't explode. We are at the entrance of monastery, and you will see that everything around is severely harmed, but the icons, the mosaics depicting saints, are safe.
Yeah, amazing. Where is the explosive head? Is it still in there? Hasn't exploded?
Yes, it's a rocket from MLRS, multiple launch rocket systems, and it didn't explode. So the explosives are still there underground.
Yeah.
What do you feel? What do you think when you see such kind of scenes?
Well, it's an awful weapon, and you wonder why. What were they shooting at here? The monastery with monks and nuns. It's a religious place. Clearly, there's been a lot of other projectiles that have hit this place, and some of them unexploded. And people have drawn my attention to the fact that the icons on this building in the front here are intact while all of the windows are smashed. You know, so there is something that obviously moves a lot of people with faith to think that there is some sort of protection going on here, given also many of the crosses have not been destroyed in the cathedral itself.
Do you see any parallels with Syria? You had the experience as a journalist in the war zone of Syrian conflict.
Yes, well, really, the religious sites were all targeted by the agents of the West, which were the Al-Qaeda type groups, ISIS and Jabhat al-Nusra and so on. And in many cases, there was very good collaboration between Muslim and Christian communities there. In one case, for example, some of the oldest churches on earth in Malula, from the 1st century and the 4th century, they were protected by young Muslim men from Lebanon, for example. And on the other hand, the priest in the 1st century church showed me a letter from Hassan Nasrallah thanking him for looking after all the refugees that had come from Lebanon when Israel invaded Lebanon. So there is this sense in which there's a great religious solidarity sometimes in the face of these offensives from the proxies of the Western powers. Tell me the history of the picture of Christ, which is on the banner and also on these patches. It has some ancient history in this part of the world, I believe.
Well, technically it is the oldest icon because it was made by the Christ himself. When he heard that one of the kings was suffering from illness, he washed his face and dried with a towel. And the towel got the image of the face of Christ. He sent it to the king, and king healed himself with this towel, with this icon, and it became the first icon. In Russian it's called Spas nerukotvorny, a savior not made by hands. So it was made by just washing his face and the imprinting of his face, of his divine face, on the towel. And our great saint prince, Saint Andrey Bogolubsky, took this kind of icon with him in a war against Volжская Bulgaria. It is middle of 12th century, and a lot of miracles happened from this icon during battles, and then he came back winning the war and understood that it was the indication and the signal from God. So he started celebrating the feasts of this icon specially. And this icon, this banner, became the indication of Grand Prince of Russia on the battlefield since the very beginning. It is called styag. Styag is the word meaning stягивать, unite, communicate together the people around the prince and of course the Christ, the God. And it is the oldest battle banner of Russians, and it is the first national flag of Russia.
So there are many centuries of history behind this image when people see it out in the field, for example, in the liberated areas.
Exactly.
It has great significance for them.
Exactly. Our saint princes of all times were always bearing these flags during battles, and they are frequently depicted on icons and on paintings with this banner. The red one, we use green so that it doesn't drive a lot of attention of the enemy, and this has become the main uniting symbol of the SMO. A lot of people, dozens of thousands are wearing it everywhere, and it's the indication of what we are fighting for, because this is the tradition. God is the source of tradition, the traditional values, all the best, the love, and this is just the indication why we're all here.
I can see that when they're handed out, that the soldiers take them very enthusiastically, the banners and the badges.
Exactly.